Beloved, welcome back to the shop. Well, it finally happened. We got our first hard frost of the season. Mrs. W's garden, well, it's looked better. That really puts me in the mood to get things ready for the onslaught of winter. In today's video, we're going to be doing a full service on our 3 little Stirling engines. Let's pull these off the stove. They are super hot. Let them cool down a little bit, and while they're cooling down, we'll go get our tools together. While those guys are cooling off, we'll put on our shop apron. I got a new shop apron. I was using the Levi's, and I've been waiting for a year, and finally Ironheart came out with a shop apron. It was sold out almost immediately, and I was very happy to get one. So we got some breaking in to do on this one, but it's 21 ounce Selvedge Denim, and this will be the last shop apron I buy. I really like shop aprons. They're a quick thing you can throw on, and they protect and keep your clothes clean. They're really good if you do grinding or just work with dirty stuff, something you can take off and go into the house, and you don't have to bring all that shop filth and contaminate your sanctuary. All right, let's grab our tools. The Stirling engines come with everything you need to take care of them. We got to tighten up the head gaskets or check those bolts, and then quite a bit of cleaning and lubricating, and everything's in this cute little package here. I love how the UK does things. Unfortunately, I don't know how much longer it's going to exist, and what a loss to Western civilization it will be. These Stirlings are still pretty warm. I've got a transmission drip tray. We'll put them on that. I don't want to burn my rubber pad on my good box. Let's start with the little one that's not running and see what's going on with that. We'll start with some compressed air. You don't want to get a lot of chemicals and oil stuff or get stuff spread around on it because it's a pretty sensitive little piece of equipment. How a Stirling engine works is that it is similar to a steam engine. This bottom base section here, this is actually a bore. There's a piston. It's actually called a displacer or a diffuser. I forget, maybe displacer. Moves up and down the moment this base starts getting heat, sitting on the wood stove, and the purpose of it is these little fans turning make a big difference in making your stove more efficient. It moves hot air across the surface of the cast iron, and it just makes you burn less wood and just heat your house better. This one here is a sidewinder. It's a little bit different than the other ones, and you'll notice here also that it has a single piston right here, just graphite piston, where this one has a double. This one's actually driven by a drive belt, and the reason why it quit working is that this drive belt, which is nothing more than a rubber O-ring, has gotten bad. They last about a year, and they get brittle, and they don't have enough tension to spin the fan. So we'll replace that. Also, I guess what else is there? So as that displacer moves up and down, that the heat drives this little graphite piston up and down, which in turn the crankshaft drives the shaft, which in turn drives the propeller. So it's a beautiful little design, and it's 100% runs off of heat, no fuel required. This is still a little hot, so I'll wear my East Coast sissy mittens. Not something West Coast man typically needs, but let's pull these propellers off. They're pretty grubby. Here's our replacement O-rings. We've got our special lubricator. We've got some Q-tips, and these are the Allen wrenches that will retorque the head down with. I think, are there 2 sizes here? There's a little grub screw to take off the propeller. I think it's the smaller one. There it is. Whenever you have a little Allen screw like this that tightens something to a shaft or holds something to a shaft, it's typically called a grub screw. To clean these, we'll use a little, is it still hot? That's cooled down now. Some isopropyl alcohol. It really is the go-to when you want to clean something and you don't want any residue left behind. It's just so handy. I go through this stuff like crazy. I use a ton of it. It's just a great product. Paper towel is pretty good for the heavy stuff, but and all the little nooks and crannies will use a Q-tip for that. Now this bore is important here, this graphite cylinder. You're not supposed to get, or piston, you're not supposed to get any lubrication in there. That needs to be dry, but it is dirty in there. So the nice thing about that isopropyl alcohol is that we can get in there and clean that bore and it won't leave anything behind. It'll all evaporate. Yeah, look at all the goobers in there. You want to do this about every 1,000 hours or so. This is the important part right here. This little shaft, goodness, how many times must this thing go up and down in a year? This gets dirty and it will drag and the engine won't want to run. It'll actually make quite a bit of noise. That'll tell you when you hear that dragging, this needs cleaned and re-lubricated. That looks better. Now we're ready to tighten down our head bolts. There are 4 head bolts here. There's actually a head gasket right in there. So these will work tight. You'll want to tighten, especially when it's new, but you're going to tighten these in a crisscross pattern and don't over tighten. If they're not loose, don't force them, but if it feels pretty good. I'm going to go just a little bit. This one is only a year old. They say a quarter turn in the manual, but they feel pretty tight. I just don't want to over tighten. You can always come back. Oh, I didn't do my crisscross. Let's loosen that. I get to talking and forget what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, so cross, cross. That feels pretty good. Okay, now we're ready to lubricate. So our Warp 5 friend sent us this beautiful little oil dripper. Isn't that charming? I don't know what type of oil they put in there, but there's a little dipstick here. Is there any left in there? I think so. We'll see here. I have a tendency to over oil. I think that's why I had such a mess on here. So we'll just pull that dipstick across here. There's a little bit on there. Let's give it one more. Lift it up to its top dead center, I guess, there, and just get a little bit on that shaft. I'll do this every couple months or so. And now that will turn nice and easy. All right, let's put our new O-ring on, and then we can reinstall our propeller. Looking at the old one, I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's pretty cracked. That's kind of why it quit spinning. This lasted a year, so I'm guessing that's probably about what the duty cycle on these is. We'll line that up there in the groove. Pretty clever, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of spinning surfaces here. There's shafts. All this is brass. I mean, you can see it's really beautifully made. It doesn't say anything about lubricating these, and I have lubricated them in the past, and that's probably why I had so much mess on there. So I might be better off just to leave those alone and just keep the oil to this one shaft right here. My favorite two cleaners for just general purpose shop cleaners are Maxima BioWash or Simple Green. If you can limit your exposure to these chemicals that are toxic, I think it does this. You know, we have to ask ourselves, you know, why are cancer rates and disease rates up so high compared to what they used to be? You know, we really have to take a look at our environment, what we're eating and what we're putting in our homes. And you can never get it all out, I mean, unless you want to go crazy, but for most of us, you know, it's going to be a big task. But if you can limit that, especially the laundry detergents, any type of an air freshener, you know, anything, any chemical, anything that has a scent in it, avoid that like the plague. All right, that looks a lot better. It's gonna be much happier. Now let's clean the dust cover. It's important to use the dust covers. They're built out of a real high temperature acrylic of some kind, and it keeps a lot of the dirt off of all of the bearing surfaces. It's not as fun to run these because it's fun to look at all the mechanism, but it's gonna make it last a lot longer. So we'll clean these with I'll get some Amsoil window cleaner. This is my go-to for any glass or plastic. This is the best glass cleaner ever, Amsoil. This is the paper towel holder my granddad made. I remember this in his shop when I was a boy. It is, what is that, 1/2-inch steel plate? It's nice. The ones you buy, you know, you try to go and pull a paper towel off and they tip over, but not that one. That one's pretty heavy duty. Granddad didn't cut any corners when he built stuff. It wasn't always the prettiest, but it was always very functional. Using a glass cleaner like this, especially with a clean rag, when you're working with acrylics or any plastics, let's say you're going to clean like the instrument cluster on your car or tractor, you want to be really careful and never wipe that dry because all of the dust is very, whoops, I dropped a little O-ring. It's a chance of me finding that. There it is. It's very abrasive, and when you drag it across, it's going to scratch. It's not nowhere near as hard as glass. So using a glass cleaner helps to kind of lift that up and get it off the acrylic with minimal scratching, or at least certainly less than if you do it dry. These little rubber feet come off. I'm going to take those off before I lose another one. That's another reason to have a organized and clean shop, is when you do drop a bolt, it's a lot easier to find when it rolls away. You have a clean swept floor. That's why when I work on motorcycles, I put the little race carpets down. Those are for when you drop a bolt, it usually hits that carpet and stops and doesn't bounce and fly 20 feet away, further than you'd ever expect it to. It's amazing how far away a little bolt or washer can go from where you watch it or hear it drop. That looks better. Put our little feet back on. And let's take it back over to the stove, get some heat in it, and I'll bet you it's going to run now. That looks a whole lot better. Here's before and after. And this guy just sits right on top. You still get to enjoy watching it, but you also are keeping it a lot cleaner. The wood stove's going to need a good cleaning. We might do that tomorrow. Actually, the heat's coming back up. We're supposed to be up in the 90s again, maybe on Friday or tomorrow. And See, that won't go until that gets heat in that displacer, but it'll take just 2 or 3 minutes. It won't take long with as hot as the stove is. It's been a few minutes. I'll bet she goes now. It's running so much better. Listen how quiet it is. Beautiful. I've gotten more joy out of these little Stirling engines than about anything. They're really cool. Well, beloved, that's about all there is to it. It's pretty simple. This is not a paid advertisement. Warp 5, have followed the channel, and one year they sent me one, and then every winter they send me another one, just to say thank you. They never ask to do anything, but I like to help them out. I like to help small companies out. If you have a wood stove and you want to have something that is just enhances the whole thing and is actually functional and works and makes your wood go a little bit further, I think that they're just beautiful little products, and I like to support it. So Warp 5 is the company. These are handmade in England, and I'll put a link down below if you want to get one. And if you go over there, tell them I said hi, and thank you for these beautiful engines. They've brought a lot of pleasure to my life, and I really enjoy them. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you all on the next video.